Hello everyone, welcome to Diagnoser. Today we have a case from emergency department and here is a 70-year-old male who presented with severe abdominal pain and obstipation since 2 days and guarding on examination. So what is obstipation? As you know, it is the known passage of both flatus as well as fecal matter, and guarding is basically the excessive contraction of the abdominal muscles to protect the internal abdominal organs from any external stimuli. It is basically elicited on palpation, and this characteristic radiograph that you can see in front of you, what this radiograph is showing, you can see here the gas under the right dome of diaphragm as well as this air fluid level here. So by all this we can make a diagnosis of a bowel perforation. We'll learn about the bowel perforation, like which part of bowel get perforated and how to identify that on the X-ray or a CT scan. What are the examinations? So now let's discuss about this bowel perforation. What would be the etiology of that bowel perforation in this case, and what are the other etiologies? Firstly, what is bowel perforation? Bowel perforation is basically the loss of continuity of the bowel wall. That may be due to different reasons, and the main four reasons for that are: one is ischemic insult, and the ischemic insult can be due to both the bowel obstruction as well as any foreign body as well as any kind of hypoxia to the bowel. Next one is due to infection, and in infection it can be like any diverticulitis or any other bowel infection. Like H. pylori infection in the stomach can lead to peptic ulcer formation and then lead to the perforation. Next one is erosion, and erosion can be due to any kind of malignancy or any ulcerative disease like ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease. Next one is due to physical disruption, and physical disruption can be due to both iatrogenic trauma, like during any drainage procedures, a needle injury can occur. Now let's discuss why this ischemia leads to that perforation of that part of bowel. So basically what due to ischemia what happens is the blood supply of that part is compromised, and that may lead to necrosis, and necrosis of that part may then lead to the perforation of that segment. So in what cases ischemia is common? One is due to physical obstruction, and the physical obstruction basically hampers the blood supply due to the over distension of the proximal part of the obstruction. Next one is due to other things than physical obstruction are the development of hernia, and others are any tumor, any trauma to the site, and other is any strangulation. Next one is due to the hampering of blood supply, like in ischemic or thrombotic or embolic events, etc., like in mesenteric ischemia. And the patients prone to this are the patient who smoke, who have coronary artery disease or any other clotting disorders. Next one is in infections. So what happens is, in the infection the most common etiologies are: one is diverticulitis, and one is appendicitis. And what happens in appendicitis is due to any fecolith, appendix started getting dilated due to the secretion of mucus inside it, and due to that dilatation, one is firstly lymphatic supply get obstructed, then venous supply, and then arterial supply. Due to the increase in pressure inside the appendix, first is lymphatic obstruction, then venous obstruction, then arterial obstruction. This leads to the compromise of the blood supply to the appendix, and then may lead to the perforation. Other infection or other inflammatory conditions include Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, and the perforation is more common in Crohn's disease because it has transmural involvement rather than ulcerative colitis. Next one is these erosive diseases. So what diseases causes erosions? One is due to the H. pylori infection of the stomach. This leads to the development of peptic ulcers, and the peptic ulcers then lead to the perforation. Next one is other, like any adenocarcinoma of the intestine, any other tumor, the ulcerative colitis, and Crohn's disease, and Crohn's is more common. And the next one is the physical factors. Then physical factors include basically iatrogenic trauma, like during endoscopy we did any iatrogenic trauma. During any other instrumentation like drainage of an abscess, we may injure the bowel segment and that may lead to perforation. Next one is any traumatic event like in the bullet wound injury or in any the stab wound injury also. Now we know why the perforation is occurring in these the four etiologies. Now let's discuss where the perforation is occurring. Like if it is before the ligament of Tietz, then it is called as in the foregut or in the proximal segment or a proximal perforation. And after the ligament of Tietz, it is called as distal perforation. And what is different is in the distal perforation we need the antibiotic prophylaxis more, and in the proximal perforation the content of bowel like the stomach like the acidic content as and also the basic content also due to the bile is released into the abdomen and may lead to severe abdominal pain in the starting also. And in the distal perforation, due to the presence of bacteria or any other gut flora that is released inside the bowel and lead to the development of inflammation and peritonitis, and that peritonitis is infectious peritonitis, so we definitely need antibiotic. And in antibiotics, basically the gram negative ones and anaerobe killing antibiotics, these are the must. Now let's discuss how the patient of this bowel perforation present to us. One is the presence of abdominal pain, like you can see here, this abdominal pain. This is quite consistent with all the cases of the bowel perforation. There is an interesting thing about abdominal pain, like if abdominal pain occurring due to the obstruction of bowel, what happens is before the bowel get perforated or just at the time when the bowel get perforated and before the release of any content of bowel inside the peritoneum, due to the decompression of the proximal part, there is a relief from the pain that was occurring due to the obstruction, and after that the pain started increasing gradually and may lead to a severe kind of pain, and this relief occurs due to the decompression of the proximal part. And the other signs are the presence of this obstipation. The patient can also has vomiting also. In the physical examination we can get guarding of the abdomen, and after that, after these initial signs and the patient get into a severe stage or after some time, the patient started developing signs and symptoms of shock, and then the patient, why the shock is occurring due to the excessive leakage of fluid inside the peritoneum and non-absorption of fluid from the this bowel, and after the shock is developed, the patient may get into the multi-organ dysfunction, and then the patient may die also. Now let's discuss how we diagnose this case of this bowel perforation. As you can see here in front of you, this X-ray is showing the gas under the right dome of diaphragm and this air fluid levels. This air fluid level shows that the air is present above this level and below this level only fluid is present. That is both due to secretion from the peritoneum. In case of what happens is due to the release of these substances from the perforated bowel, the peritoneum secretes some fluid to dilute these substances and to minimize the irritation to itself. So due to that there is an excessive fluid inside the peritoneum, and this shows this air fluid levels. Let's see this is also an abdominal X-ray. This is also showing the gas under this right dome of diaphragm. So you know what are the differential diagnosis for the gas under right dome of diaphragm, and first one is, as we just discussed, this bowel perforation, and the other one is it can be due to any gas producing organism, any gas producing organism like this E. coli. Next one is iatrogenic, and in iatrogenic, as you know, we create pneumoperitoneum during the surgeries. Next one is presence of any distended bowel loop. If any bowel loop is present here, this is also known as Chilaiditi syndrome, and that can also mimic the gas under this segment of this diaphragm. Next one is any abscess. As you know, in an abscess there is an air fluid level, and the lower part is fluid and the upper part is the air. And if any big abscess occurs at this level inside this liver, then this part may be like the fluid content, and the upper part is air, and that can also mimic the bowel perforation, or that can also be a differential diagnosis for air under right dome of diaphragm. And the next modality for diagnosis is this. You can see this is a CT scan, and the CT scan is, this is the abdominal window and this is the lung window, and you can see this this black colored here, this is the air, and this is also the air, and you can see the presence of air above the in the peritoneal cavity, the free air, free gas inside the peritoneal cavity, and this is quite diagnostic for this bowel perforation. What do you know what this is, this white structure that you can see here? This is the falciform ligament, and you can see the gas both on the both sides of this falciform ligament. CT scan can also help in making the diagnosis that which part of bowel is perforated. And in child, what is the diagnosis we do first? Firstly, we do USG, and if the diagnosis is not clear after the USG, then we may shift to this X-ray or an MRI or CT scan also. This is also a CT scan showing this free gas inside the bowel, you can see, inside the peritoneal cavity. And the thing that you can see here, these arrows, these are pointing toward this. This is the thickened wall, and this is the jejunum, the thickened wall of jejunum. And the wall thickness is basically, we can say that this part of bowel is involved. Next is how we treat this case. Firstly, it is basically a surgically treated disease, but firstly we need the medical management, like for correction of shock, for correction of pain to the patient, for management of pain. For the shock, the patient should be given the IV fluids. The patient should be NPO, like bowel rest should be done in order to not increase the perforation more. Antibiotics should be started. Like as we discussed earlier, in the distal part, distal to the ligament of teats, antibiotics should be covering both anaerobes as well as the gram-negative organisms. The definitive management is surgery. And in surgery, what we can do is, one is the primary repair. We can repair it just by applying the sutures if the perforation is a small perforation. If the perforation is due to any necrotic bowel segment, we need to resect that part of bowel, and after the resection, if the ends that we get after the resection are tough enough to hold the sutures, we can do the primary repair. If the ends are not tough to hold the sutures, we can create a stoma. Correct the stoma after 2 to 3 months or after the time the bowel is ready. If any abscess developed during this time, the abscess should be drained, and the abscess drainage is quite beneficial because it relieves it can relieve the pressure inside the bowel, and it can also remove the bacterial load also. And in cases of duodenal perforation, there is a specific omental patch repair. It is enough. And omental patch is also known as Graham's omental patch repair. And in last, the prognosis of this disease. So prognosis is not that good because of the comorbidities present in the patient, and the patient may develop different morbidities also, like the delayed intra-abdominal infections, like the hernia, and hernia basically occurs at the site of incision. The other complications are this development of other thromboembolic diseases, the cardiopulmonary complications, and so on. So this is all about this case of bowel perforation. Let me know if you have any questions regarding this disease, or DM me on Instagram, or you can post this in the comment section below. So this is all. Thank you. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel.